Hello, how are you doing? This is going to be a short video on some for surveyors to have a look at and understand. Some surveyors out there. This photograph here is from a surveyor known as Kozlowski, geodetic surveyor, and there seems to be a big misunderstanding from himself and other surveyors and other people about how this happens, right, on a flat plane. Now, this is from, I think it's just over a mile across the lake, this photograph. And this marker here is the same height as his crosshairs, yet when he looks into his crosshairs, it appears lower. Now, it's not lower, it only appears that way, as I've said in previous videos. He himself and other surveyors seem to be unwilling to go past this point. As soon as they hear that it's not lower than their crosshairs, they tend to switch off on the video. So I'll ask them, if they're watching this, to just stay watching and just listen. Okay, this here is only due to perspective, due to parallel. This lake is totally flat. Even in the video that this comes from, Jesse Kozlowski, the surveyor, said the lake is totally flat. He is taking his heights off of the lake, so this marker and his crosshairs are exactly the same height across the lake, which is, I think it's 1.4 miles or 1.2 miles long or something like that. So this is a totally flat lake, and because he has both his marker and his theodolite crosshairs at the exact same height, he's making a parallel. So the lake is one side of the parallel, and the marker and crosshairs here is the other side of the parallel. Now, the problem is, I said this to him a couple of years ago. I said this was just angular size change, due to field of view, greater field of view, and he didn't want to accept it. So I've made videos like this. I'm just going to show you some stills. I've made videos when I've taken stills. Just going to situate it better here, like this, right? And people have argued with them. Okay, so this is what I show. I show something higher than the center lens of a camera, and as I move it back, it starts to appear to drop below the center lens. Now, it's not actually dropping. It's not getting, it only appears that way due to a bigger field of view. The field of view is greater, so it appears like it's dropping. But this actually is actually in line with down here, below the top of that block, or any of those blocks are all the same size. But there was arguments about this, and people said, "Oh, your phone is not leveled, or your camera, is not leveled," and blah blah blah. And what happened was, people made, in response to this, I got several people making, people weren't understanding it, making videos like this. This is just some stills from, I think it's Erebus, made this, one at the globe side. And this is what happens. He leveled his camera, right? His camera is level here, right? Okay, but the surface he's on is not level. It is flat, but it isn't level. And watch what happens. So I'll just go down the stills. As you can see, the piece here is rising above the center frame. It was on top of the center frame, but now it's rising above. And it keeps rising above. And I get to a point where it's actually, that piece is actually gone. Like, it's literally what was on top, when the center frame was on top of that cube, it's now below it. And his actual center frame is pointing into the table at the back here, or this surface here at the back. It's not, things aren't getting smaller like here and going down the way. His actual cube is going up the way, away from, if that's a good way of explaining it, as you can see. I'll do it again. So this is what happens. So I then made this, okay, and I did this with my phone in portrait mode, not horizontal. Okay, now I have my phone looking now at a jar of olives. Okay, Now I'm going to move back that jar of olives. I've leveled my phone, but my phone is level, but that doesn't mean there's parallel with the surface it's on. So watch what happens. As I move it away, right, so there it was starting, move it away, watch the label. The label starts to rise. And the more I move it back, you can see where my center frame is pointed. I move it back, I move it back, I move it back, I move it back. So earlier on, my center frame was up here, when the actual height of the lens of my camera in portrait mode on my phone is actually up above this label. But because I've leveled it, what's after happening is that it's not parallel with the surface anymore. So just go down one more. This yellow line here, I'll try and make it bigger for everyone. This yellow line here, right, that is where the center frame of my lens is, here. But because I've leveled it, it's down here. Now that might be a little bit high, it might be a little bit more down, but it's slightly above this label. So that might be a little bit high, but it is slightly above this label. Okay, because when we started out with the first photograph, we're looking straight at the olives, and the label then came into view with the next one, and bit by bit it dropped. It seemed to go. The label seemed to the center frame seemed to drop down, as opposed to the label and the label rise up, or whichever way you want to say it. So that happened because when I leveled my camera, what happened was, just like earlier with the Erebus one, is that it's not parallel anymore with the surface. So I can level my camera, but I can't level the surface. If it's a solid surface, I can't, and it's not level. It might be flat, but it's not level. So what's happening here is my table here, this countertop, is actually, I'll just go back a bit, it's actually rising towards the wall. So as it moves, as this surface stretches away from my camera, what happens is that it actually rises towards the back wall. There's an incline towards the back wall here, which often happens. That it's actually with surfaces like these countertops that are connected to a back wall, like these breakfast tabletops. What often happen that towards the back wall there will be a rise. So simply due to the front of it hanging down or something, I don't know why. But there's always a slight incline towards the back wall, often the time. But anyway, that part doesn't matter, because the important part is this surface is definitely raising towards the back wall. So what I did then is just to show, 1 second now. I don't have it there. I'm just going to keep on going with this. So what I'm after doing is I've shown already in previous videos, especially my last one, what happens when you make things parallel. So I'm using, for this video here, I'm using a plumb line app. And the whole idea of the plumb line app is that it shows the dead center. Okay, so my phone is slightly from left to right, is slightly not correct, but that's the floor going, it's a fall from right to left here. There's a fall slightly to the left, but in my tilt I'll show it now with double digits units that it is my phone is totally parallel with the surface, okay, which is the important thing. So it's not just one thing level and the other thing then is not in alignment. Both of them are parallel. So I had complaints with my last video that I wasn't using double digit units, and I didn't need to because I knew it was showing parallel. So in this one I used double digit units just to show that it is absolutely right, correct and parallel. And my phone is just to show that my camera lens is parallel with the surface. Okay, and I also have a laser here coming off of this unit here, and you will see it in a minute. And just watch this video. So here we go. Right, just showing here that everything is okay with the camera, double digit units. Now I'm about to move back this apparatus. It's just a piece of cardboard, so it might move around a little bit. And as you can see, that black line is starting to drop below below, or appearing to drop below the crosshairs. But this is important. This is where the laser is pointing to, and it continues pointing there. But the laser also appears to drop. but it's not dropping. The laser is not dropping, it's just pointing in a straight line. But what's happening is it's appearing to you as the field of view is becoming bigger. So just leave it play, and I'm going to pull it back in. I might move the cardboard a bit with my hand, I'm touching it with my hand, but it doesn't matter, because the main thing is the center frame here, the crosshairs, and the laser is the thing to pay attention to here. Not I just put down the cardboard with the black lines just as a kind of a marker, or a visual aid. So it's just taped on there, so it's not it's not going to stay in one place. But it doesn't matter, because these two, it's the crosshairs here and the laser that's important. Okay, I know the focusing is a bit tricky. Okay, right. Now, so just to show some stills from this video before we finish, just to show. Now I've annotated the stills. Okay, now I have this red line here on on all the photographs here. I have on all the stills. I have this red line on the crosshairs. Okay, just going to go down. You can see, just going to start there again. You can see this black line is above the center of the crosshairs. As I pull it back, it's starting to drop below. It's starting to go down. It only appears that way. It's not really. It's just appears that way. It's just a perspective thing. And again, now you can see that your laser is into view. I have a yellow line on top of that. So the red line is going to be referencing the crosshairs, and the yellow line will be referencing the laser. So I'll keep going. And again, as you can see, the red line and yellow line are starting to meet. And again. And again. So you can see, although that should be up slightly up higher, you can see that the laser has seemed to drop in height, but it isn't dropping. It's just the field of view is becoming bigger. It's not that it's dropping, and it's not that this black line here has dropped below this red line or the center, or this crosshairs. In reality, the crosshairs is pointing below this black line. It just appears that way because of field of view. Angular size change happens because if your field of view becomes greater. So something is not going to still appear to stay the same size and height in your view if it moves away from you, because you get to see everything around it. So that's why this happens. It's a pure angular size change issue, right? Caused by field of view, right? It's not an issue. It's just something that people are not paying attention to. So I'll go back up with these. As you can see, it appears that the laser is rising and the black line is rising, but it's not. It's just, as it moves away, the field of view becomes greater and things appear to drop, but they don't. Now, the main problem was, let's go back to Kozlowski's photograph. There we are, right? The main problem was he claimed that this was due to earth curve, but I've just shown there that it's not earth curve, that it's purely an angular size change thing. And I've also shown, because I'm showing double digits here, I'm showing that and with the laser, I'm showing the laser is also, so not only is the crosshairs, are things appearing to drop down below the crosshairs, but the laser is also appearing to drop. But it only appears that way. It's purely angular size change. It's a pure. This is a pure effect of two things being parallel, and this is what happens. Just like if you take a train track in the distance, as the train tracks go away, they appear to meet. Well, the same happens here. It's just you flip it, as opposed to two things being flat on the ground. You take one and put it above the other. And it just appears that that's happening. It appears that one is dropping below the other, but it's not. It's not actually dropping. It's just field of view. But this can only happen when things are parallel. Now, for things to be parallel, you need two straight lines. Okay, that's parallel, two straight lines. Now, they don't have to both be level, but they can be, as in Jesse Kozlowski's photograph, because the lake is totally flat and level. Water always finds its own level. okay, sea level, okay, and he took his heights off of the lake. If I I remember watching the video, so this here and his crosshairs are both taken off of the lake, so he's made a parallel with the lake. Now it wouldn't matter if he used a different surface, as long as he made a parallel with it, he get the same effect. You know, if I use like I'm using here with the hard surface, here, because it's a hard surface, I have to work from that surface, and I get my parallel from that surface. Now he did the same thing with the lake, but that's not our curve that's causing that. It's just field of view causing angular size change. It appears to drop. It doesn't really, just appears that way. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope this clears up some stuff, and that the detractors and trolls who are attacking the videos I make on this, that they actually learn that that I'm actually not trying to be dishonest. I'm being honest, and I'm showing it. If you don't understand it after this, I really don't know what to say to you. It is what it is. Thank you.